raised in a family where his father was very mischievous. When he wanted to date our daughter, I said, no, we went out on dates with me, and I gave him the where to he didn't understand how father would like care for his daughter. Now he's got to see it.
Hey, Archie. You got here just in time. Hey, Brian. next time, Jonesy. Yeah, it's a high school. We'll try to make that, Brian.
How's everybody in Osborne tonight? You guys good? Every night, turn up the pom-pom. The oxen back at time, turn up the pom-pom. I played my drum for him, turn up the pom-pom. Stay standing up. We're going to have a little sing-along tonight. I'm going to teach you a few parts here to start. So sing it as loud as you can after me. I'll sing and then you. Here we go. Fast, so we're gonna have you sing along with us tonight. You know most of these songs anyway, so this is called Angels We Have Heard on High. Sing it out, here we go. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, never mountain their pride, echoing their joy and strength. Hands up, clap, clap, clap. Yes, we have found their true. Like a show your streets from
They're the best.
Oh, Merry Christmas, everybody!
Merry Christmas!
Man, they said, you know, Oscar on Tuesday may be tough to get people out. That was a lie. No, nobody said that. It's so good to see you guys. Are you guys in the mood for some Christmas music tonight? We're a band called Cloverton. We're so thrilled to be back in Osborne. I think we've been here maybe once or twice. I grew up in a town not far from here called Hill City. And yeah, there's like two right next to me. So. I know the Bulldogs are great and all. I just don't know if I could be a Bulldog tonight. Maybe by the end of the night we can all be Bulldogs. What do you think? It'd be okay. Well, you know, it's fun. This Christmas tour is so fun for us to play. How many of you love Christmas music? How many of you like really the old classic Christmas songs? The old Christmas songs. Anybody? Yeah. And anybody like the newer Christmas ones? Anybody have new favorites? That's good. It's good. A good mix. We're gonna play a good mix tonight, actually. And so, you know, if you know them, we want you to sing along, and if you don't, we just want you to try. Okay? This is a brand new Christmas song. I'm gonna write it right now. So why don't you clap your hands together with me, and let's go like this. Clap, clap, yeah. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna sing this song. Playing a show on the 13th of December. This Kansas weather is much colder than I remember it. Gonna play a Christmas show for all the girls and boys. If you're ready for Christmas, then make some noise. So Merry Christmas to yours, Merry Christmas to mine. Merry Christmas to that giant big ball of twine. Merry Christmas to Osborne and Feliz Navidad. Maybe for Christmas, Cloverton can all be a bulldog. Yeah! A bulldog, a bulldog, a bulldog, a bulldog. Oh my goodness. That's maybe the worst song I've ever written. Let's play a real one. What do you say? Thanks for singing along, everybody, or at least amusing us. Here we go. Next time
I do.
She said she's gonna go on stage, right?
I play drums the whole week.
What?
I play drums.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, you should get up there. That's awesome.
This is the Christ our King, from shepherds come, and angels sing. His supreme grace and love, the Son of Mary, the Son of God. In such mean state, and hearts and hands are free.
Oh man, you missed out.
The silent word is free.
They were doing backflips all over the stage.
Shepherds come, and angels
Oh, they can't lie.
Incense, gold and myrrh, come peasant king to hold him. The King of Kings, salvation brings, and loving hearts enthroned in. This is the Most High King, who shepherds God, and angels sing. This is the praise of the Son of Man, the Son of God. This is the Most High shepherds God, angels sing. The Son of Man, the Son of Thanks everybody. This is one of our favorite songs to play. It's a Cloverton song called Miracle. Hope you like it. Here we go. There is a light that comes in front of me. roses and blues of fear away. You took me in when I lost my way. Looking for miracles, looking to save my soul, looking to fill the smoke in me. And I know something so beautiful, you're the miracle in me. There's a broken piece inside my heart. It shows we're running more than just a spark. Let us to find a complicated sea. You can stay with me to stir the wandering. Looking for miracles, looking to save my soul, looking to heal the smoke in me. Looking at you, I know something so beautiful. You're my miracle in me.
Way back in the corner. There's the little drummer there. Yeah, she said she plays the drums.
Well, thanks everybody. Everybody having a good time so far? How are our people up in the balcony? You guys good? The wild ones up there? I see. I can't see you. I hear you. Well, how many? We love this Christmas tour for a lot of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is that we get to play Christmas songs pretty much all night. And I love Christmas time, and there's a handful of reasons why. But I grew up in a family that loved Christmas tradition. How many of y'all have Christmas traditions at your home or in your family? Any of you? I feel like the same 7 people keep answering, man.
You're one of the wild people down in the
No,
back.
it's great. I grew up in Hill City, and we had a lot of traditions around Christmas. And I have a family of my own, and we have our own traditions too. But I specifically remember one. Every Christmas Eve, we would have this tradition, and it was very unique. We would invite our friends, neighbors, family members, whoever was close enough to come Christmas Eve, and we would eat supper, and then we would go outside after we'd eaten a big meal on Christmas Eve, and my mom would make a cake, a birthday cake. We put a candle in the cake, and we would go outside and we would sing happy birthday to
Jesus.
Yes, sir. Jesus, because that's actually why we celebrate Christmas. Whether you know it or not, that's fine. We celebrate Christmas, Jesus' birthday, and so we go out there, and you know how it is. I mean, it feels it's 27 degrees here, but it feels like 16. It could feel that way in Hill City on Christmas Eve, and so we'd go out there and we'd sing happy birthday, and we'd stand shivering, and in a great spiritual act of patience, we would hold the cake out and wait for the wind to blow the candle out.
Oh, that's cute.
And sometimes we wait a little longer, and then my mom would start to, do this with the cake. And there were some years, because we were waiting for God to blow the candle out. It's his birthday, Jesus' birthday, so he should get to blow it out. There are some years where the breath of God smelled a lot like the breath of my dad, over the shoulder of my mom. Not really, but we would do that. That was our tradition. And then we'd go back inside, and then my most favorite part, we would sing Christmas songs together. My parents were both musicians, so we would gather around the piano and the organ, and we'd sing some of your favorite Christmas songs. And like true for all Christmas songs, everyone's really, really strong in the first verse, and then the other verses maybe not so much, because they don't know them as well. But we thought it'd be fun, since we're in Kansas. We're so close to home. It's like playing at home with family. So would you guys do a little Christmas sing-along with us?
Yeah.
Like we're just in a big family together?
Woo!
Okay, all right. I've got 7 of you that are all in. And for the rest of you, you got a little bit of time left tonight to join us. And I think, by the end of the night, you're gonna wish you'd said yes sooner. But this is your chance. So let's practice a little bit. And we're gonna sing one called "Go Tell on the Mountain." Okay? And we'll put the lyrics up so you'll know the words. It'll be easy.
You
And,
have to
just
sing
this
along,
loud
Jonesy.
And as proud as you can. Here we go. We'll do it together. Go tell on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. One more time. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. You guys sound great. Why don't you get up on your feet and sing along with us? Here we go. Shepherds kept their watching, for silent flocks by night. They all throughout the heavens, they shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain. Jesus Christ is born. Yeah. All right, here's another one you'll know. It's called Hark the Herald Angels. Sing along. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mine, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. When angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Christ by highest heaven adore, Christ the everlasting Lord. Leading time, behold him come, offspring of the Virgin's womb. Filled in flesh the Godhead see, healing carpentry and thee. Flees now with man to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel.
There it is, Skycraft.
All the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Prince of Peace, hail the Son of Righteousness. Light and light to all it brings, present with healing music. Mommy lay, story blind, for that man no more may die. Born to raise the sons of earth, born to bear from second birth. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
She's got the beat. What can I say? I like that. That's good.
Help me to be closer to the closer, farther from me. May your kingdom be the only one that I see. Oh God. Help me see. Everything's good when you created all things.
That sounds really good, mashed potatoes.
Force in us to create me.
got here?
Oh, okay, crap. How long does this concert last? Because I don't want it to end.
Yeah, good save. I'm sorry.
Thanks everybody. That was a song from our second record, and I just love that song. We don't play it most Christmases, but just felt right this year. So, and you know, with this Christmas tour is special. Every year it's a little bit different, but a little bit the same. I feel like it's kind of like Christmas, right? It's a little bit different, a little bit the same every year, and I'm learning this more and more. I mentioned this before, but now that I have a family of my own, it's definitely
I
reminding
agree,
me
Skycraft.
of Christmas as a child, because I have two boys. I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and man, I see so much of myself in them. Actually, more of myself in my 10-year-old. He's imaginative. He's got a kind of creative mind. He's musical, and then my 6-year-old is a little more wild. And my 10-year-old Jude, he's playing the piano these days, and he would be playing the piano, and Eli, my 6-year-old, would more likely be doing gymnastic catapults off the piano, just to get a glimpse of my two kids. I have a beautiful wife too. I should have mentioned her first. She doesn't do gymnastics over the piano, but Eli sure reminds us of her. Anyways, I love the Christmas season, but and I don't know how. it goes so fast. But we'll be home before Christmas. The tour ends before Christmas, but I get to experience the anticipation leading up to Christmas through FaceTime and through talking to my kids as we're on the road, and so there's just great anticipation. We're 13 days out. I just talked to my kids before the show tonight, and they have these Advent things that they're doing, and every day they get to open a little box to see what the next thing is, and so they're excited to tell me. And I can just sense that there's just like, man, Christmas is so close, and so excited to spend it with them. And it reminds me of a Christmas actually that maybe one of the most memorable Christmas memories I have growing up as a kid. I was probably 8 years old, and one tradition we had in our family was to sing Happy Birthday Jesus. Another one we did was we did Christmas gifts. Lots of people do that. I think most of you probably have done that at some point in your life for Christmas, is exchanged gifts. And so that was a part of our Christmas. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in an era that it wasn't, you wanted to get something for Christmas, so you type it into Amazon and you get 2-day shipping, and it was there like that. This is the days of this thing called the JCPenney's catalog. You know what I'm talking about? And you would open up that sucker and you'd take a big magic marker, a king-size one that no one could, they could smell it a mile away, and you'd circle that thing, and because you just knew that after Grandma was done with her turkey, if you just that JCPenney's catalog over there, she might see what it is you wanted for Christmas. And sure enough, this specific year, I was probably about the middle of my boys' age, probably 8. I wanted this electric train for Christmas. It was a big deal. I was convinced that this would be the toy that would fulfill my life forever. You're laughing, but it was going to happen. And I knew it. And I could tell by the faces of the kids on the picture of how complete their lives were at age 7, 8, or 9. To be playing with this electric train. So I'd circled that thing, and I prayed about it so much, and I begged, I'm sure I bargained, said, if I never get anything else in my entire life, if I could just have this train. And sure enough, something clicked. And that Christmas, I ran down the stairs, and under the tree was this big, giant electric train, wrapped up. But I knew that's what it was. So I tore the paper off, and it was time to open presents. And then the whole morning spent just devoted towards fulfilling this thing that was going to complete my life forever. And my family, they knew this was going to be a big deal. So it's like everything paused, and everyone contributed to put this thing. And this thing had beautiful, like 7 or 8 beautiful train cars. There were bright colors, and there was this train truck that you pinch together on all the, the seams. And then it took a few hours to get together, and then came the time for me to actually make it work. And so at a very modest 197 miles an hour, I pushed go, and that thing flew off the side of the track like nobody's business. And it was as if the entire neighborhood heard what was going on and cheered. I think maybe we had an earthquake in Helsinki. Because it was what I expected it to be. And so it was the greatest moment of my entire 8-year-old life. And so I put the thing back on the track to make it go, because I wanted it to go more than 2 inches. So I got the whole thing, relined up and set it back on there and moved it forward a little bit slower. And this time it went a couple more inches, then it fell off the track. And so I was getting a little frustrated. So I thought, well, this is just a fluke thing. I've seen the picture of these kids, and it obviously works all the time. And so I got it back on the track one more time and pushed it at like 2 miles an hour. I mean, it was very, very modest. And the dumb thing just kept falling on. And I sat there thinking, this might be the very worst Christmas present I've ever received in my entire life. And aside from a few more times, what ended up happening that train is it ended up packed up in a shoebox, and that shoebox made it home to our house, and that shoebox made it into a closet in our basement on a shelf where I never really played with it again. And it's still there today. And the reason I tell that story is not so you'll go hurry and cancel your orders for electric trains for all your kids this Christmas. But it's actually a bigger thing than that. We talk about this in my house now. What are we training our kids? What are we teaching our kids to value? What are we teaching them to treasure? Is it Is it things, or is it something else? And I think that, we love to get our kids gifts, and I think sometimes, get Legos, we like to get them fun stuff, and I think that's okay. But we're also trying to teach them, what to really treasure. And I think that I'm still learning that as an adult. What do I really put my treasure in? And I think 3 or 4 years ago, I had a moment where I felt like the Lord was kind of trying to get my attention a little bit. And so I got invited to go overseas, and I've been there before. I've been to Kenya. I've been in the slums of Kenya, and the cowboy slums. I'd walked through poverty. I'd seen it. I'd smelled it. I'd touched. I'd been in the midst of it. And it was impactful, but it didn't necessarily change my heart. And so I went to this other country, Nicaragua, a few years ago with this group, and didn't expect to really see anything different, but was willing to go. And the Lord shifted my thinking. I walked into this place, and there was a little girl. Her name was Margarita, and she was about 3. And she was about the age of my son Eli. And I remember walking into that place and seeing just the dirt and the heat and the place that they lived, which was as big as a shed that we had in our backyard, and this bed where she lived with her grandma who was blind and her brother, and she came in to showcase everything. She took us around her home, and she showed us they had 2 chickens out in the yard in a cage, and that's all they had. And I remember meeting her and thinking, like, what is it there's something in your eyes that I'm not understanding, I'm not connecting, because you don't have anything. You don't have anything. And you should be sad. You should be complaining. And I realized that what we were doing that day is we were bringing her food, because somebody here had said, you know what, I'm going to treasure a person this Christmas for a little over $1 a day. I'm going to commit to investing in a person's life. I'm going to ensure that Margarita has 3 meals a day, 3 round meals a day. I'm going to ensure that she gets educated, so she learns how to read and she learns how to write, so she doesn't stay in this cycle of poverty, which has probably been passed down for generations and generations in her family. I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna stop that cycle by saying, no, you're worth treasuring. I'm gonna get you access to the gospel. You're gonna be in a church environment so many days a week that it's like, how many of you know that the gospel is actually what really, really will change somebody's life? And what I was witnessing in her was this hope, this contentment, and not from things, but from an investment. Someone had said, I believe in you. I treasure your life. I'm going to give you a chance. Because she couldn't do that for herself. And the organization that did this was called Compassion. And so in that moment, I realized that my sons will never have to live in that kind of environment. And it's not because I'm rich. It's not because I'm successful. It's literally because of where I live. And I'm not saying there's not poverty in America, because I know that there is. And I've seen it. And I'm sure that there's poverty even in this community. I know that there is. But I think we have a greater means to fix this problem than we realize. And at Christmas, we have this will to be more generous. And so from that moment on, we decided as a band, we're not going to do a Christmas tour and not talk about this giant need that we often, the rest of the year, will turn our eyes from. And so we partnered with Compassion to try to change as many lives and rescue as many kids out of poverty as we can. And we need your help. And can you imagine there's a lot of kids here tonight. And I know that this is a sensitive thing for many. I've sat in your seat, and this is so uncomfortable. But just stick with me for another minute. If there was a community in Kenya or in Nicaragua, and all of these children tonight here didn't have 3 meals a day, they didn't have, they couldn't get Tylenol or eye drops if they had an eye infection, if they couldn't do, Wouldn't you want somebody to say, you know what, it's worth investing in your life? It's worth investing in your life. I think we would. I think we would. And we can do that tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend just a minute. I'm going to tell you how. This is Livia. She's from Brazil. She has been waiting for a sponsor for a year. This is a little information about her, and then on the back is some information about you. And this is how you help a child forever. It's just filling this information out. It's $38 a month. And it's a commitment to that child that says, you know what, you're worth investing in. I believe that you have a better hope for a future than what you currently have right now. And I'm willing to help you with that. I'll tell you, and then I'll have the guys come up, but just in a second, the first time we ever sponsored a kid, it was not my choice. I was sitting in an environment just like this. I was uncomfortable. The lights maybe started to go up, and I was like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable. Somebody else raised their hand. Somebody else raised their hand. And my son did. And I was like, no, God, that's not who I was asking to raise their hand. Somebody else. And my son Jude, who was probably 8, raised his hand. And my first response was, no. Because I was thinking of, no, we don't have the means to do this. No, we got to make sure we can take care of this. No, we got to make sure we cover this bill. We got to, and in his eyes, in his mind, he was like, well, this child needs our help. I mean, I don't have all the excuses that you do have. And so tonight I just ask you to do some inventory. And as you start coming up with excuses, I want you to picture the kids in your life or the grandkids in your life, and you think about what excuses are there for me not to help them. So we'd love to change as many lives as possible this Christmas. So Osborne, this community, I believe that there's generous people here, and I know. And so tonight, who's willing to partner with us to change kids' lives? Just hold your hand up, and the bandmates are going to be walking around with children, opportunities for you. So just slide your hand up. The first one is always the toughest. There's someone back there. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you. I believe we could change an entire village tonight in this community, somewhere else, you know. So your money goes directly to the child. It doesn't go to a company or a corporation, or it goes through Compassion, that's the organization, but all $38 that you spend goes directly to your child, and you invest in that child. We have two kids that we sponsor now, one for each kid that we of our own. It's just an incredible way for our kids to connect with somebody that's not in their neighborhood, that's not in their classroom, that's not in their church, somebody in a different world, world setting, where they get to start to it just shifts their perspective on the world, and they write letters, and that communication I've seen firsthand what communication to a child in need can really do. So who else is with us tonight? Anybody else? I know there's one more person that's got to be thinking, man, I don't know if this is my step or not. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick intermission, just in fact 5 or 10 minutes. If you took one of these tonight, thank you so much. What I'd like for you to do is to fill out the back side and tear it off and take it to the Compassion table during intermission. We don't have multiple packets. They'll tell you how to get everything filled out and sign up, so you could give a kid the greatest Christmas gift this Christmas season. And but don't walk out of here without doing it if you have a packet, because we don't have to do